let's talk about handcuffs. Names over here, Dustin over here. Before we get into it, if you got any questions, post them in the forums. We got our army of experts in there. Also, all of our other preseason stuff.
Close.
It is coming, and this is draft time. So if you got your teams drafted, post them in the forums, and our army of experts will rank them for you. So handcuffs. When to handcuff. What we say, here's our philosophy on handcuffing. 10-team league, there's enough running backs to go around for everyone. You don't necessarily need to handcuff in those leagues except for maybe the top handcuffs if you really want to.
First, what a handcuff is. So a handcuff is when you have a stud running back, and then you go ahead and so you draft them early, obviously, because they're a stud running back, and then you draft their backup later in the draft, because if your stud gets hurt, then you can have their backup and you don't have to worry about free agency and waivers or bad bidding and all of that different stuff.
It's like a safety net.
Like a safety net.
It's like a safety net, and typically you only handcuff running backs that are in one-back systems. So, you know, if the main guy goes down, the next guy's going to swoop in and just get all the carries.
So, Dustin, your thoughts on a 10-team league?
10-team league, we don't typically handcuff. 12-team leagues, 14-team leagues, obviously it gets a little bit more important.
16-team leagues,
16-team leagues, and then later in the season it gets important too as guys start to wear down and you don't have to worry about guys in bye weeks as much. But Brent, let's talk about our top handcuffs this year.
So we're going to go with our top handcuffs, and the first one is Pierce and Ray Rice. So obviously, we don't like the fact that Ray Rice seems to keep slipping in drafts, but part of the reason is because Pierce was such a beast during that Super Bowl run, and he had very good games during the year. If Rice goes down, Pierce is going to be a very, very solid running back. If you get Rice, maybe even in a 10-team league, Pierce is not a bad guy to pick up, because if he gets hurt, you're going to get similar production we feel out of him.
And Rice is probably one of the only players, other than this next guy, that I would really try to handcuff in almost all leagues, just because Pierce's upside is top 10 if he ends up being the starting running back. Same with Ben Tate and Arian Foster. Ben Tate has definitely proven in the past that he is a very capable running back. You know, Foster's really been the only thing holding him back, because Foster is even more of a capable running back. So we really don't see the timeshare really changing from where it's been over the last couple of years if they're both healthy. But, you know, Tate's obviously a guy you're going to want to look at in the later rounds if you draft Foster.
Our next duo is McCoy and Brown with the Eagles. I've said it a million times, the Chip Kelly offense, they're going to be getting a lot of plays in, therefore a lot of running, which therefore, you know, Brown might even get more touches this year due to that, because they're going to be rotating in and out. But we saw last year when McCoy wasn't playing, when he went down, Brown stepped in and had some monster games, really helped a lot of people make the playoffs and do fairly good in the first round. I think he fizzled out sort of in the second round. But regardless, if McCoy goes down, Brown's a handcuff.
Let's move over to the Tennessee situation. We got Sean Green and Chris Johnson. Obviously, Chris Johnson's the man. He's going to get the majority of the carries. But if something happens to him, Sean Green has had solid years over the last few years with a terrible Jets offense where the defense knows they're going to run, and they just keep running and running and running. But Sean Green is going to have some nice games even as the backup, I feel, because he'll probably get a decent amount of touches out there. But if Chris Johnson goes down, we like Sean Green.
And side note, you can't take too much in the preseason, but I do like the new pieces on the offensive line that the Tennessee put in.
It looks good. So they definitely look good.
CJ and 2K might be on the rise again. All right, the next one's Matt Forte and Bush. And Bush is actually going to have some value even if Forte doesn't get hurt, because he is going to vulture the goal lines. Forte is terrible in short yardage, so he'll run all down the field, and then they're going to give it to Bush to fall into the end zone. If Forte gets hurt for any reason, it's Bush's job, so he should be getting all the yards and then falling in the end zone. But again, in a PPR league, Bush doesn't have quite the same hands, obviously, as Forte, and he really should be drafted only as a handcuff with a high upside.
Next, we got Fred Jackson and CJ Spiller. You know, Jackson's still nursing injuries, but, you know, he'll more than likely be ready early in the season. And CJ Spiller, he's the man. I mean, this guy, they have to give him more touches. But if he gets hurt, you know, old man Fred Jackson, they'll probably go turn back to him and give him the touches if he can handle it. So, you know, you're going to want to look at Fred Jackson if you end up taking CJ Spiller in the late first round.
And as we said, it's still early in the preseason, so some of these backups aren't 100% clear. And that's what the case with our next two guys, and I'm going to be talking about Frank Gore. You know, he's getting a little bit older, and they do have some quality backups there with Kendall Hunter and then James, the rookie that they got, well, not a rookie anymore, a guy they drafted a few years ago. So, you know, if Gore goes down, we're not necessarily sure who's exactly going to be the backup. Whoever it is, will obviously have value. We love the offensive line for the Niners. We both do think it will be Kendall Hunter. We feel he's more of the back that would be able to step in and do what Frank Gore does, which is obviously what the Niners like to do.
But Hunter's coming back from that major injury, so just monitor that as far as who you're going to draft as your handcuff. And then next we got the whole McFadden situation. You always want to look at who his handcuff's going to be just because he's probably going to get hurt. And we might have this group kind of a little higher up on where we have these guys as far as the most important handcuffs if we knew exactly who his handcuff was going to be. But you got Marcel Reese and you got Rashad Jennings out there, so it's not really clear cut who would get the most value.
I think it's Reese.
I mean, Rashad Jennings, had some good years with the Jaguars, but last year it was very disappointing when he got his chance, and he just really did not perform. So we'll see what happens. But I think Jennings. I think that's why they brought him over there. But also too, one other thing: don't feel like you can only draft these handcuffs if you have the stud. You can piss someone off in your league that has Arian Foster and draft Ben Tate in the later rounds. And then you can benefit from an Arian Foster.
As an example,
injury.
we have an auction league that we do. Dustin owns Foster. Lock, I'm bringing up Tate for like $6 just to start. Bid it up a little bit.
I'll let him have him and cross my fingers because it's a 10-team league and I'm not going to worry about it.
Don't bid at least 7 or 8.
I won't. But that's our handcuff show.
7 or 8.
I'm going to make him buy Ben Tate and then he's going to...
Okay.
We'll see if Foster stays healthy. But get in the forums. These are our handcuffs. This is Namco. This is Dustin.
Thanks for everything.
Football!
Football!